Hello, hello, hello. My name is Brian, and this is Witness Wargaming, a new YouTube channel where I discuss all things Warhammer 40,000. Well, maybe not all things, kind of focused around competitive Warhammer 40,000. Most of my videos going to be revolving around list building, pre-tournament assessments, post-tournament recaps, talking about what went right, what went wrong. Hopefully in the future, also collaborating with some of my friends in the local scene. Um, Kind of coming here together, discussing our list, what we want to do, what we think we have good matchups against, um, some poor matchups we think we might have, and kind of stuff like that. Just some background, really quick. Started playing Warhammer 40k around the end of ninth edition. I had a Tyranid army. That was kind of my first army. Played, I don't know, maybe less than 5 games of ninth edition, and then 10th edition came out. Kind of played with Tyranids. Eventually migrated to Death Guard. Eventually migrated to Chaos Space Marines, which I decided to deck out in my favorite Chaos Legion Emperor's Children. And then lo and behold, the Emperor's Children Codex came out, and so now I just play Emperor's Children. So that's my main army. I do currently have two armies. I no longer have my Tyranids or my Death Guard. I got my Emperor's Children, and then I have a Raven Guard army, which is my favorite Loyalist chapter. They don't see as much play as Emperor's Children, but they're still fun to bring out every now and then. So yeah, that's kind of my experience. So I guess what 10th edition came out. What was it 3 years ago? 3 years ago. So I've been playing Warhammer for about 30 years. 30 years, 3 years. In terms of like actually like taking it serious and like trying to go to tournaments and do well. I'd say it's been closer to like a year and a half, maybe 2 years actually. Um, when I originally started playing, I was in Hawaii. I went to several RTTs there and a couple GTs. And then in 2024, I moved to Texas, where I live now, and where a lot of um, the meta I kind of discuss on this channel is going to be revolving around is the meta around Central Texas, anywhere from as far north as Dallas to down as far south as like San Antonio. That's kind of like the range in which I play in. So yeah, just anytime I mention the meta, for me, that's going to be the area that I'm kind of discussing. Um, but yeah, so went to a couple GTs last year, big GTs, 300 plus player GTs, and then I'm currently preparing for the Dallas Open next month, which is going to be kind of the focus of this video, discussing my Emperor's Children, and whenever I go to the tournament, what am I going to be happy to see, and what am I going to be not so happy to see. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much me. I'm sure as I post more that we'll kind of dive deeper into more of that. But for now, that pretty much covers it, and then we can just go ahead and kind of dive into the core of what I want to do in this video. So kind of what I'm looking to do in this video is we're going to be discussing. Um, like I said, I'm preparing for the Dallas Open. I've got two RTTs lined up this weekend and 2 weekends from now. Not like huge. I think like one's a 12 player, one's a 16 player. Kind of just want to test out my new list. I just got my hands on two defilers, which adds a much, much, much needed element to Emperor's Children. So I'm really excited to test out what they can do on the table. I got one of them painted. I'm going to finish painting one of them the other one tonight, most likely, so that I can have them ready for Sunday. So yeah, as you can see, we're making a tier list. We got all the faction listed on here, and we kind of broken down this into 6 categories. So whenever I pull up to the Dallas Open, which I'm expecting to be similar in size to last year, so at like 300 plus players. So these are kind of the tiers that I'm looking at, and like when I see that my opponent pull out that army or I see the pairings on BCP, like what am I going to be thinking? So top tier is going to be so at 7 code points I. So if you know Emperor's Children, then kind of the only attachment. I won't say the only. Some people play Court of the Phoenician. I think even Carnival of Excess get to play here and there. But most competitive players are going to be running Coterie the Conceited. And before I get too off the rails, whenever I say competitive players, I do consider myself somewhat competitive. I think I'm kind of in that bracket where I'm definitely not threatening to win any GTs. If it's a 6 rounder, I'm very happy to show up and go 3-3 or 4-2. Um, so I'm not like the end all be all on Warhammer or Emperor's Children or anything like that. I consider myself a pretty good Emperor's Children player. I'm sure there's plenty that are out there that are a lot better than me. That's just kind of my thoughts. So like this isn't like advice or like I won't take any advice from me or competitive advice from me. I'm just kind of doing this for fun. And like I said, I think I'm a decent player, but I'm not like a great player. So I wouldn't say I'm like qualified to be to be telling you what to do or that my opinion overrides anyone else's because it most likely doesn't. But anyways, in terms of competitive Warhammer, most Emperor's Children player run Coterie of the Conceded, and kind of the core concept of that detachment is every turn you pledge a kill tally to Slanesh, and you say I'm going to kill this many, and if you kill that many, you get buffs depending on how many you do. So there are 4 tiers at 1, 3, 5, and 7. So if you pledge one and you reach that 1 kill, you get to reroll ones to hit army wide. Um, once you hit 3, and these all stack by the way. But once you hit 3, you're going to be rerolling ones to wound. Once you hit 5, you're going to be lethal and sustained in melee. And then once you hit 7, so what this category is you are critting on 5s. So this really coincides well with the Emperor's Children Army rule, which is Thrill Seekers, which you can advance, shoot and charge, fall back, shoot and charge, army wide, with some caveats, obviously. The primary being you can't like double tap a unit if both units assault, advance and shot or are trying to shoot. You can't double charge with units that have already charged, etc., etc. You can't charge what you fall back from. Most people at this point, I think, Evershed have been out long enough that everyone kind of knows the deal, but I usually try to explain it anyways. But um, so, kind of the premise for this tier is once you hit 7 coterie points with Emperor's Children, the game is usually over or it's about to be. So once you have, you are rolling ones to hit, ones to wound, um, lethal and sustained in melee on 5s, you're probably winning the game. And you probably have tabled, or you're about to finish tabling your opponent, at least in my experience. Um, so that's kind of like I come to the table and I see what they're playing, and I'm like, okay, yeah. So at 7 coterie points, this is what's going to happen because that's kind of a pretty satisfying feeling when you're in a game and you get to that 7 kills and you get to remind them what's about to happen. So yeah, that's going to be the top tier. Second tier is going to be I feel good about this. So I come into this match and I'm thinking based on my army versus your army, I think I have a pretty decent chance of winning this. You know. Um, then the second tier or the third tier, I apologize, is going to be Grueler. So this is going to be one of those games where like I think that this is going to be like it's going to come down to the bottom around 5. I think we're pretty evenly matched. Um, all of this also just to caveat really quick is also player dependent. This is just taking into account like if I'm playing the most average player ever playing the average army list that this army usually runs. You know what I'm saying? Because there might be someone who the army I put is I feel good about this, but then there's a player who's a lot better than me, and they're a lot better pilot than me, and they'll beat me. Like they just have the upper hand because they're just better at Warhammer than I am. But this is just kind of on like a scale of like the average player. So again, going back to Grueler, I think this is going to be like it can go either way. It's going to go to bottom of 5, and we're going to be playing out the whole game and trying to figure out who's going to come out on top. Our middle tier, or I guess if you want to call it a middle tier, is going to be I got to play this perfect. So this is one where I don't think it's a great matchup for me, but I think if I play the game really well, that I still have a chance to win this. Kind of, I don't ever like to go into a game thinking I'm going to lose, but sometimes as we'll reach, they're just kind of the situations. But yeah, I gotta play this perfect. Is that if I play this game really well and I make less mistakes than my opponent, then I still have a chance to win this. Um, the second to last tier is I wonder how my friends' games are going. This this is kind of like where I'm thinking, by like turn 3, that I've probably already going to be losing this game, and I just start thinking about how my friends are doing. Um, we got a crew, going together to this tournament. I think we have like 10 people. Um, so shout out the Waco Wizards. But so I think, like I said, it's going to be kind of a game where I'm not expecting to really be in the contention to win the matchup, and I'm just going to kind of be thinking of how my friends' games are going at that point. And then the last tier is what time does the bar open? This is where I've had a couple of these. I had a couple of these at the Lone Star Open last year. Had a couple of these at the Dallas Open last year. Um, where as soon as I see my opponent's army, as soon as I see their list, I kind of know it's game over, and I'm just thinking about getting a drink. To be completely honest, even better if this is the last game of day one, because I know I'm probably going to be tired from the drive. And if I'm gonna get blown out, it'll probably be over turn two, turn three, and then I can go get a drink and head back to the hotel. So yeah, that's kind of the tiers. Hopefully that didn't take too long to explain. I feel like I might have over explained it a little bit, but yeah, so we'll dive right into it. Again, this is strictly based on the perspective of an Emperor's Children player. Um, Speaking of, I'll dive into my list really quickly. I don't have a slide for my list or anything. That's going to be something that I'm going to discuss a lot more in depth prior to the event. I'm hoping to upload another video probably next week. Not only breaking down my list, but a few of my friends' lists as well who are attending. Excuse me, sorry, I got the hiccups. Who are attending as well, and just kind of going over our matchups and our goals and stuff like that. But my list is again, it's going to be codedly conceited. The core of it is going to be two winged demon princes, one of them with an enhancement to every battle round, or sorry, every player turn. I can flip a dice to a 6. So on a hit wound or save roll, it's usually a save roll. So got two of those. Two Lord Exultants attached to two Infractor squads. A Tormentor squad. I'm going to have two Rhinos, 2 units of Noise Marines. I will have a unit of Chaos Spawn, a unit of 3 Flawless Blades, and two Defilers. And that sounds right. I think it's a list. Um, so yeah, the list is kind of built around those two winged demon princes and those two defilers, and kind of using those flawless blades and infractor squads early to get my pledge points, and then kind of hopefully turn two, turn three, start to take over the game with the winged demon princes and the defilers. Is kind of my main goal. Which again, I'm really excited to utilize these defilers because it's going to be really nice having long range anti tank threats, which is not something I'm used to having. This is fairly similar to previous list. Previous list before the Defiler, it would just be 3 Winged Demon Princes, 3 Noise Marines, and a Mauler Fiend thrown in there. And then this is basically just dropping a Winged Demon Prince and an enhancement, a Noise Marine squad, the Mauler Fiend, and then adding 2 Defilers and a Flawless Blade unit. Yeah. So that's the list. Like I said, if you're interested, I'm going to be posting another video going more in depth in my list and others' lists as well. So, hopefully with that being said, the yapathon about that can end and we can get into the tier list. So we're just going to go in alphabetical order, and so sorry, oh no. And we're back. Sorry about that. I forgot that with this webcam, if I touch the cord, it instantly disconnects. So I got to be more careful where I put my hands. But anyways, like I said, we're just going to be running it down through the factions in alphabetical order. So first up is going to be Adeptus Sororitas. So this is kind of an interesting one because I haven't played a ton of games into Sisters. There's not like a huge Sisters population, I guess, where I'm located at. I did play a Sisters player at the Lone Star Open last year. Um, I would say if I pulled up and I saw a Sisters army, depending on who the player was, like if we're just talking like a standard Sisters, probably playing Hallowed Martyrs, I would probably go with I feel good about this. Um, I think I have the tools to handle this, and also I feel like Sisters players tend to have like some cheap squads that they like to send forward. Like Battle Sister squads, maybe some Repentia, stuff like that. Maybe even at this point, now that I have the Defilers, maybe even like a couple Rhinos or Immolators. I feel like I could probably kill early and start getting my pack points early. Um, I kind of feel like this could go either way, but because there are always the lawsuits you got to worry about, which I think I'm pretty well equipped actually to deal with. I think the Demon Princes are a great thing because I can charge in and do mortals and bypass that 4-up invuln. Um, Puncture shots into them with the Defilers, long range. Um, so yeah, I think really outside of the Vol suits and some castigators, I feel pretty confident about my matchup into Sisters, because kind of their whole thing is at the beginning of the game they're dying and they're stacking up their miracle dice. So end game they're a lot stronger, but that kind of goes the same way for me, where I'm killing those cheap chaff pieces and getting my buffs and getting stronger as the game goes. So I feel like that kind of puts me in a good position, in my opinion. I think we match up decently into Sisters. So I feel good about this. Next we have Adeptus Custodes. This is another interesting one. It kind of comes down to the builds. I feel like if people are still doing the triple land raider builds with all the custodian guard, that's going to be a little tougher. But I feel like just a standard Custodes, maybe like a Lions or a Shield Host, um, I'm gonna put Custodes in Grueler. Um, I kind of feel like I have a big speed advantage over them, but I also feel like that they can do a lot more damage than I can, especially before I get my buffs going. Kind of the good thing about Custodes is that a lot of them have 3 wounds, and with my Noise Rains and the Blast Masters, the Winged Demon Princes, and then the Plasma Cannon, the Defilers are all damage 3, which is pretty cool, and is really helpful for me. Um, so, like I said, I feel like it could go either way. I feel like this is a grueler. I think if I'm playing against Custodes, the average Custodes list, and it's a pretty decent player, that we're probably going to go turn 5. Um, it really kind of comes down to who goes who goes first, who goes second. Because right now going second is kind of a big advantage, but also as EC, it also is pretty good to go first, because you can stage. Um, but yeah, like I said, I think that's going to be a good matchup. I'd say grueler for Dips Custodes. Admech. Admech. This is another one where I have only ever played against Admech one time, and the Admech player was very, very, very good, and I kind of got railed. I'm not gonna lie. Um, oh man. So, but I also kind of feel like it's kind of the same boat where the Admech have a lot of chaff that you can kind of stack points on. But at the same time, if I'm not getting up the board and they're pinning me in my deployment, which is where I don't want to be as Emperor's Children, and then they kind of just start out OCing me and shooting me from distance with like breachers and whatnot and last chickens, probably not the best feeling in the world. Um, so honestly, I don't really love the AdMech matchup, if we're being honest. Like I said, I've only ever played against them once and it did not go well. So I'm gonna pick this and I gotta play this perfect, because I feel like they're gonna have way more assets than me, and um, with everything having an invul, you can never count on completely wiping the unit, especially with that they go to the doctrine of minus where they get -1 to hit melee or whatever. That completely neuters my army. So don't really like that. So yeah, I would say I gotta play this perfect against Admech. Next we'll go into Eldari. Um, man, I'll be honest, I feel good about Eldari as well. Um, they're kind of another army that has a ton of little MSU stuff like Rangers, Warp Spiders, what are the little dudes? Swooping Hawks, that they're gonna kind of throw out there. I feel like Eldari don't have as many punishing tricks as they used to, like hopping in and out of transports and, absolutely obliterating you. Um, I also really like Fire Dragons, Dark Reapers, maybe some Fire Prisms. I'm not too scared. Well, like us and some more spiders. Um, I'm not too really terrified of anything in Eldari at this point. I do have a good bit of experience into Eldari, so I kind of know how to play it. Um, Also, the spread profile on the Noise Marines, on the Blastmasters, where it's with both of them, you're going to have like 12 shots, AP2, 1 damage, and worse cover is great into T3 Eldari bodies, especially once I'm hitting my rerolls. Um, so, yeah, I kind of like my matchup into Eldari, I'll be 100% honest. Next is Astra Militarum. This is another one where it completely depends on what they're playing. If they're playing Grizzled Company and they're bringing six, not six, they're bringing, three Rogal Dorns and like three Lehman Russes, which is kind of what happens around here at least. I don't love it, especially if I lose my Defilers. And even with the Defilers, I'm still winning, Robo Door on fours, and they can pop Armor of Contempt because that's reasonable. Um, I don't like it. Then we get into what if they're playing Recon Guard, which I have yet to run into a player, at least in Central Texas, running Recon Guard. I don't think anyone's crazy enough yet here. But at that point, I feel like I can get a lot of packed points, but I'm also afraid of like the new Yarick data sheet where if I get close, they can just charge a chain unit into me and kind of stop me from getting where I want to go. And plus all the reactive moves, the -2 to charge stratagem, shenanigans with Asher Militarum. So even though like in theory Recon Guard sounds like a great matchup to stack up those kill rebuffs, they still have a lot of tools if the player knows what they're doing to make things difficult for you. Um, this is kind of another one where it really just depends what attachment they're running. Um, so I'm gonna put, oh man, I'm gonna put Grueler. Um, like I said, I think if it's an infantry heavy one, which sadly no one in Central Texas really runs, everyone likes tank spam around here. It's gonna be tough. I feel like if I can get lucky and take out a Dorn early, maybe I can get an upper hand. Actually, I'm gonna put this in. I gotta play perfect, just because Ember Children notoriously struggle with tanks, and I don't think the Defilers alone are going to completely fix that. All right, next we got Black Templars. Black Templars. I will be 100% honest. Outside of like the Rep X's, which I mean, at least now I have the Defilers to deal with, but again, you're winning Rep X's on fours. Just like a standard Black Templar list, I think I'm feeling pretty good. Um, One thing that Emperor Children are good at is killing Space Marine bodies. With specifically the Flawless Blades, the Noise Marine squads, Infractor squads, Lord Exultants. Lord Exultants absolutely shred Space Marines, especially when he pops his best day ever. Um, and the thing is, that Black Templars are going to want to be getting in melee, and I'm a lot faster than them. So if they want to get close enough to be in range of me, then I'm probably staging at a point where they can't quite touch me, and then I'm going to touch them next turn, and it's probably not going to go well. Um, so I've played. I haven't played any Black Templars recently. I'd say it's probably been like 6, 7 months since I've last played Black Templars, and it went pretty well for me. So I'd say I feel pretty good with this if I'm seeing Black Templars. Blood Angels. Blood Angels is going to be a good game, I think. Blood Angels are one of those melee armies that have kind of this almost as much mobility as Emperor Shorten do, mostly because they're mostly a jump pack army and they're moving 12, with their Death Company or their Assault Intercessors or Sanguinary Guard. Kind of one big plus is the -1 damage on Demon Princes, so Sanguinary Guard don't threaten them too much. But they do threaten everything else I have pretty heavily, especially they're getting +1 attack, +1 strength, or is it what +2 strength, +1 attack? So again, I don't think Blood Angels are really notorious for bringing a lot of vehicles, which bodes well for Ember's Children. But I do think they can kind of counter my mobility, and they have they're like another melee army that, like I said, can match my mobility. So I think if I'm playing against Blood Angels, like a standard Blood Angels list, that's probably going to be a growler. It's probably going to be a good game. Next up, we have Chaos Space Marines. This is another one where it just depends on what they're running. I'm not really terrified, even though it is good. I'm not really terrified of Creations of Bile or Huron's Marauders. I know in Creations of Bile they are going to get better mobility to potentially match me, but I feel like I have a good matchup into killing like Chosen, killing Possessed because they're 3 wounds. I've got Noise Marines, I've got Demon Princes, I've got Defilers with a lot of damage tree profiles. Again, even in Bile, even if they do take the +2 movement, and I still think they're not as mobile as me, and so outside of the chosen bricks, obviously, and then they can pop a CP to do it on someone else. But it's not like my mobility in that. One thing I do Pact Bound is not something I would be excited to see though. Vindicators, Forge Fiends, all that jazz, Abaddon and his crew. Um, that's a little tougher because it's harder to push up into that. And Pac-Man is one of the few things that can like pick up a Catan in one activation. So they would have no problem picking up most of my army in one activation. Um, so I'm gonna put this in Grueler. Like I said, I feel pretty confident into the heavy infantry builds like Huron's Marauders and Bile. I don't like my Pact Bound matchup that much, especially because they're also going to have Defilers now, and Defilers and Pact Bound are very good, and they're going to be hitting harder than my Defilers are. So yeah, I'm gonna put that in Grueler. Dark Angels. I hate playing Dark Angels. Um, I'm gonna kind of shove that in. I gotta play this perfect. Um, man, just Deathwing Knights are a travesty. Um, -1 to wound in Wrath of the Rock is brutal. The fact that they are 4 wounds with -1 damage is brutal. I have yet to play a Dark Angels player that's not bringing at least 2 units of Deathwing Knights. And then you throw in Azrael for command point economy. You throw in the Lion for fights first, which is incredibly annoying to get around. He can pop fights first. He rerolls everything. He can pop I feel no pain. So even like my strategy, okay, I won't charge him. I'll chuck a grenade and then charge Demon Princess and do mortal wounds. He can just pop mortal wound. He can have that and the fights first, right? I think, or that and the real rolls, whichever. And then also he can just like pick up and teleport in their command phase, which is annoying because I'm a very elite army. I don't have a great way of screening out my backline. Um, so having an uppy downy lion is just really frustrating to deal with. So I don't love that. And like I said, this is strictly speaking about Wrath of the Rock, Dark Angels. I haven't played anyone not playing Wrath of the Rock. I'm sure there's people playing Gladius. I'm sure there's people playing Stormlance still, maybe. Um, but as far as like Wrath of the Rock goes, I don't love it. I think I can win potentially if I kind of am able to pick up the pieces around those things. But dealing with those through the -1 to wound and all the -1 damage, all the extra stuff is just kind of frustrating to deal with. When my army does not have a high strength. All right. Now we're looking at Death Guard. Death Guard, I think it's going to be kind of that first one where we're looking at. I wonder how my friends' games are going. Um, I've played the Death Guard matchup a few times. I've noticed that if it's a like an okay player or not like super competitive player, that I definitely have play into it. That I can win. Uh, However, I feel like a good Death Guard player running like a meta list is going to be difficult to deal with. Wounding Plague Marines on 5s does not feel good. Also, Death Shroud Terminators doesn't feel good. And Death Guard, they want you close, which is where I want to be. And if they're choosing like -1 weapon skill, ballistic skill, or is that -1 hit roll? I can't remember if they changed it or not in the nurse. Does not feel good hitting on 4s. That means almost every turn I'm spending a CP to ignore mods in my command phase on a very important unit, and then everything else is struggling. And then the -1 toughness is also painful because now I have T3 infractors, or I have T4 Flawless Blades, T4 Noise Marines, etc., etc. Does not feel good. And Plague Marines can pretty easily wipe out an Infractor squad. They can pretty easily pick up I don't want to say easily, but have a good shot at picking up a rhino and dumping my noise marines out, and then like the drones are pretty solid at popping rhinos and letting exposing my infractors and noise marines. So I don't love the death guard matchup strictly because of like I said, you have to get close to them, and they're kind of cool with that. And the -1 to hit contagion is a bummer. Next up, we have Drukari. Drukari is this is gonna be my first one where I put up here. So at 7 code points, there's a big difference between like the average Drukari player and like a good Drukari player. I've played against average Drukari players, and I'm at 5 or 7 pledge points by turn 3, um, because noise marines can easily pop their vehicles. Now I have a Defiler, which is definitely going to pop their vehicles. Um, Picking up witches or cabalites is not difficult, and usually they go pretty wide, have a lot of smaller units that are pretty easy to clear and pick up. Um, Again, caveating back to the before, like a faction expert Drukari player is completely different than like just pulling up and playing like a random Drukari player. Like some of the things they can do, especially in that witch detachment. But I feel like against like the average player, I can play around that pretty well, especially like picking up screams and noise marines, kind of staying out of that. They charge me in my turn shenanigans and stuff like that. Um, like I said, I think I like my matchup a lot in Drukari, and I expect if I'm playing Drukari that I'm probably hitting the 7 points. So that's going to be my first one in there. The Emperor's Children mirror match. Uh, this one's tough. I thought I'm going to be doing the same thing. We'll just put it in Grueler just for because if I'm considering myself like the average Emperor's Children player, I'm playing against the average Emperor's Children player, and we're trying to accomplish the same things, I think it's going to be a Grueler. I've played this mirror match a couple times. It's a lot of fun. The games go by pretty quick, and pretty much every time I've played it, it's come down to like 5 or 10 points. I've already talked about Emperor's Children enough. I'm not going to go super in depth in that. Gene Sword Cult. This is another one where so at 7 code points. Um, G Stars have a lot of bodies, and they're not hard to kill. The problem is getting out OC'd by them, and if they do get that strong break of like the aberrants or the gene stealers of the patriarchy into you, they probably will kill you. I don't think their heavy mining lasers are super reliable into picking up like my defilers and stuff like that. Kind of the annoying part about the Gene Stealer cult is them going into cult ambush and popping up in my back lines because again, I'm fairly the army. I'm not good at screening. However, probably at that point, I'm going to have a lot of buffs and a good chunk of my army left. Um, I've had instances where I will playing like Gene Stealer cults and I'll charge in a couple Winged Demon Princes and kill the unit with mortals and then just pile in into another unit and then wipe them with my sweep attack because I'm, you know, critting on 5s, lethal and sustained. 14 attacks on the sweep with a Winged Demon Prince. It's strength 6. No, strength 8. Strength 8? Strength 8 on the strike. So it's strength 6 on the sweep. So you're still winning them on 2s, reeling 1s. Even though it's no AP, they're still usually like 4 up, 5 up save models, so you're still probably wiping the unit. So like I said, that's actually I feel pretty good about that. I'm probably getting my 7 code points. I might be behind on primary at the beginning, but I feel like once my buffs are stacked, I'm probably going to start picking up multiple units a turn. Grey Knights. Grey Knights is an interesting matchup. The frustrating thing is the uppy downing and coming in my back line, which is not something I like. Everything has a 2 up save. I don't have a lot of high AP things, so that can kind of be frustrating. I just don't think they're doing a ton of damage back. I mean, the Dread Knights, yeah, the Dread Knights are going to. Each Dread Knight will probably pick up an Infractor squad. Maybe no, probably my character lives. And then Crow and his squad are going to pick up an infantry unit that they want to shoot at, and then I'm probably going to kill that unit back. Um, It's just their mobility. It's gonna be hard to pin them down. But one thing about Ember's Children is I can advance and I can tag them and keep them from going up and down. And they're a fairly elite army. I, so they're Grey Knights. It's been a while since I've played against Grey Knights, so I'm gonna put this. Um, I'll put this in Grueler. I think if I play against a good Grey Knights player, that we're gonna have a good game. Imperial Agents. Um, unless I have the misfortune of playing Folger Piles on Imperial Agents, which I don't think is happening. And if anyone even brings, I'd say at least one person will bring Imperial Agents to the Dallas Open. Um, I'm getting 7 color buffs against Imperial Agents. At least I hope I'm going to. I'd be pretty disappointed in myself if I don't. So I'm not even going to talk too much about Imperial Agents because they're barely an army. Next up is Imperial Knights. I think this is going here. Um, I hate playing into Knights, especially if this is going to be that just 5 big Knights. Um, I'm not going to do well, to be honest, because I think most of those they're bringing the Lancers and the Atroposes, um, that all have the Fort Benvol and even in melee, and they're just going to walk through walls and shoot me and charge me and kill me most likely. If they get lucky on their Fort Benvols against my Defiler shooting or melee, that's just tough. I lose. So and especially if they're bringing that five, the 5 big Knight, um, it's kind of hard to get to 7 coterie points if they only have 5 models. It's hard to get to 1 coterie point against Knights. So not a matchup I would enjoy seeing, to be honest. Kind of self-explanatory. They're big. They're tough. I'm not. So yeah, that's going to be what time does the bar open. Leaks of Votan. Leagues of Votan. I feel good about this. I feel like outside of what are they called? The Steeljacks that just shoot you and send you into outer space. Nothing else in the army scares me that much. Hecatons do a little bit, but I feel like Votan are slow. They don't have a great save, so my like low AP like infractor units and stuff like that are going to perform better. Um, and like, yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've only ever played against a couple Votan players, and it went pretty well both times. So if we're going based on average Votan player, like I said, outside of the robots and the Hecaton land fortresses, there's not really anything I care to. I mean, I hate to say it, I don't really think I care too much about to worry about against Votan. Now I'm going to probably eat my words for saying that, but I just think they're slow. They don't have a lot of involts. Um, and I can kind of pick up, like if they send out their Jaegers or their bikes or whatever to pick up early points or early screening, I'm going to get my coterie buffs pretty early and I'm going to chase them down, basically. So I can like that matchup. Necrons. Oh, this is going to be another. What time does the bar open? Even with Defilers, I don't think I can effectively kill Catan. And a Catan can pick up 2 of my units easily a turn. That's if they're only bringing one. If they show up with a Nightbringer, the Deceiver, maybe a couple Doomsday Arcs, the Necrosar or whatever, not having a good time. Not having a good time against Necrons, especially if we're running like -1 damage. Silent King. I'm never killing the Silent King ever. I It's so hard to get coterie buffs against Necrons, because Wraith Bricks impossible to kill, Catan impossible to kill. I get 20-man warrior brick with 4 Benvuln from what's his face. Not fun. Everything is filled with pain. Everything heals. Um, like I feel like Ember's Children we do damage, but I feel like it's in short spurts. Um, I don't think it's enough to clear out a tough army like Necrons. So if they're running a meta Necron list, yeah, I'm just I'm gonna be like, yeah, go ahead, brother. Do your movement phase, your shooting phase. Let me know how many saves I need. I'm gonna go to the bar and grab a drink. That's pretty much is how it's gonna go. Orcs. Orcs. I think this is another one of those. I feel good about this. Um, I've played against orcs a good bit. And outside of the Wa turn, if you can survive the Wa turn, or like they fail their charges, or you make them Wa sooner than they want to, or later than they want to, if you do enough before the Wa and you survive enough during the Wa, it's not really anything to be super worried about, which I hate saying. Um, like Gaz going as 20-man boys unit. Um, if I can get them out of the wall, my noise rings are going to kill the boys, and then I'm just going to charge, do mortal wounds with my demon princes to get past Makari's bullshit 2-up in one save, and I'm going to kill you with mortal wounds. I mean, to be honest, um, maybe in like a search and destroy deployment, and they go first, it might be tough. Um, but outside of that, I feel like I have a great matchup in Orcs. I feel like I want to kill them. I feel like I want to get my pact points. I don't. It's one of the few armies that I don't have to worry about them really shooting me that much. No one. There's no more Mordaka running around. No one's running Tactical Brigade. Pretty much everyone is running War Horde. Um, and like I said, I feel like if they're not in the wall, that I'm going to be doing fine, honestly. Which is kind of sad because I love orcs. I think they're a really fun army to play against. But yeah, that's kind of my feelings about that. Space Marines. This is kind of too broad to dive into. Like, there's such a different spectrum of Space Marines. Usually, when I think Space Marines, I'm thinking Ultramarines. So we're going to be seeing Rep X's, Ballistus, Victor's Guard, Gilliman, and or Calgar. Um, so if it's that, I don't like I said, it's one of the best armies in the game. Um, and Space Marines have so much versatility, especially in Gladius, or Wardens of Ultramar. Um, so I'm thinking I am really good at killing Space Marine bodies though, but not those Space Marine units. Um, So I think the average of what most people are playing is probably Ultramarines. I think I gotta play this perfect. I think I am efficient at killing like intercessors. Fairly efficient at killing intercessors. I mean, Noise Marines, Defilers probably aren't bad at killing Victor's Guard. The only problem is going to be the -1 to wound. Um, and then reactive move and blood surging and all the things that Ultramarines can do. Um, Not efficient at killing Rep X's. Not super efficient at killing Ballistuses because they have a 2-up save, they're probably in cover, and they have access to Armor of Contempt, probably for free because of Gilliman, or for basically free because of Calgar. Um, I just feel like the standard Ultramarine Space Marines list, I'm not super confident. I think I can win if it's not like a super great player, but it's gonna be tough. I think I gotta play it basically perfect. I gotta play really well to win the game. Space Wolves. I've never played in Space Wolves ever. I kind of feel like they're kind of similar to my army, where they want to be in melee. They don't like big tough vehicles. Um, I think the Wolfguard Terminators, are they -1 to wound, or are they -1 damage, or are they four wounds? They have something that makes them more durable. I'm not I have no idea what Space Wolves do, other than that they probably want to charge you, which is cool with me. I also want to charge, and I'm probably pretty confident that I'm faster than them. I don't think people really spam Thunderwolf cavalry anymore. I've only ever played Index Space Wolves whenever was it Index? Yeah, Index Space Wolves whenever Thunderwolf cavalry insane. Since then have not played them in like a serious game, also like a crusade game or something. So I don't even really know what they do. Um, so uh, I think it'd be cooler. I feel like we're trying to achieve the same things, and I think they have like sagas they're trying to achieve, so that kind of goes in hand to hand with my coterie buffs that I'm trying to achieve. So I could see it being a growler. I could see us it go down to the wire. Tau, what time does the bar open? I do not love my playing to Tau at all. Um, because I have a feeling that I'm going to be trying to get those early coterie points, and maybe they feed me a Fire Strike team or a Pathfinder team or some Crew Carnivores or something that they don't care about. That's literally just there to hold primary and make me come out, and then I'm going to come out and I have to charge them because I need coterie points, or I can't get past them because they're screening me, and then I'm going to get destroyed by Riptides and crisis suits and broadsides and hammerheads and skyray gunships and everything else. I do not like my playing to Tau whatsoever. Not to mention, I haven't played them since they got the Twin Lance, and the Twin Lance has just made them exponentially better. So yeah, not a big fan of that. I don't think I really need to explain much more. um, just the matchup into Tau is not good. Just straight up not good. Yeah. So next up, Thousand Suns. This is going to come down to what they're playing. If they are playing Rubricate Phalanx, I'm probably not winning the game. I don't have something that can kill 20 to 30 Scarabcle Terminators. Just can't do it. I don't care if I'm at 7 coterie buffs. Probably can't do it. By the time if for some reason have reached 7 coterie buffs, I probably have 2 units left, and it does not matter. Because Scarabcle Terminators -1 to wound, just straight up. Doesn't matter if it's my strength's higher than your toughness or whatever. Your strength's higher than my toughness. I get -1 to wound. No, just -1 to wound. So my infractors are winning on 6s. My Noise Marines, which should be winning on 2s, with the Blast Masters, are wounding on 3s. The small guns, which are strength 5, are wounding on 5s now instead of 4s. And I have so much damage 1 with infractors, for instance, that they get +1 to their save against damage 1. I cannot kill Scarabcle Terminators. Cannot do it. No matter what I do. Can't do it. I've tried. I've tried multiple times. If they're playing like Cult of Magic or Cabal Sword, I haven't seen anyone playing Cabal Sorcerers. There's another one that's fairly common that people play. That's the thing about T-Suns is they actually have more than one viable detachment, so it's hard to gauge. I'm putting what time does the bar open for Thousand Suns? Mostly because, like I said, I don't Rubric Marines. They do a lot of damage, but I'm going to kill them eventually. Um, with Scarab Occult Terminators, I'm just not going to kill them. And then they're going to spend a CP to fall back, shoot, and charge, and they're going to blow me off the table. Or they're going to have another one that's going to double move, and then they're going to put 4 rerolls to hit, and then I'm getting killed by AP4 bolters, because that makes sense. And then I'm getting death wounded to death by autocannons, because they get autocannons and missile racks on the same model. Um, yeah, I have a lot of trauma with the Scarab Occult Terminators, and so I don't even want to talk about it. It's just what time is the bar open? I don't want to play T-Suns, period. Next up is Tyranids. Before the Defiler, I did not like this matchup, mostly because in my area, people like to play Monster Mash. And killing Maliceptors and Tyrannofixes and Norns was an uphill battle, to say the least. So now they have Defilers with Blast Cannons and Plasma Cannons and Strength 16 melee, and I can bust through walls. I like my Tyranid matchup a lot better now. And then if they are playing a balanced list like Invasion Fleet, or they're trying to run mass Termagants or something, like just trying to out OC me, I will slay Termagants and Hormagaunts and Gargoyles and get a ton of coterie buffs. So this is another 50-50. It just depends on what they're playing, but I'd say overall I feel good about the matchup. to be honest. Um, we feel good about the Tyranid matchup. Um, and the tunnel snakes stuff is kind of frustrating to deal with. Um, no one loves a Haruspex or a Maliceptor in your backlines, but I feel like oh, that is annoying though because I don't have enough pieces to screen out Subterranean Assault very well. We'll put that Grueler. I think if I play against an average Tyranids player, that we're going to have a good game. Last but not least is World Eaters. So they're going to be playing Berserker Warband. Um, they are faster than me technically, not counting advances. Um, Depending on the layout and the deployment, this could come down to who goes first, who goes second. Um, I think World Eaters is going to be another one that's a grueler. Because we're both trying to achieve the same thing. I think I have more effective shooting than they do outside of their Forge Fiends. Um, Also, a lot of their stuff does not love -1 damage Winged Demon Princes. Outside of like the Exalted 8 bound, because they're what anti-monster vehicle 3 up or whatever. Um, so I think that's like kind of like the perfect matchup, perfect fun game. World Leaders and Emperor's Children. Like we're going to duke it out in the middle. I think it's just going to come down to who kills who first, and again, depend on the layout, the deployment, and who rolls higher on the go first turn. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm just going to do a quick pass over of this to see if there's anything I missed. Um, I'm kind of thinking about dropping Dark Angels down into I wonder how my friends' games are going. Because the more I look at it, the more I hate that matchup. And especially if they're running like a Judiciary with some ICC with fights first, that neuters a lot of what I want to do. Because they can either heroic it or heroic the lion, and that pretty much ruins everything I'm trying to do. Um, yeah, I'm actually put Dark Angels down here. Okay, so kind of judging this going to the Dallas Open. Here's kind of what I'm looking at. So I'm kind of cool. I'm cool with playing Drukari, G-Star Cult, or Imperial Agents. Not like the proudest thing to say, I guess. I feel good about this. We're looking at Sisters, Eldar, Black Templars, Leagues of Votann, and Orcs. So there's out of what 25 factions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I feel good about 8 of them. If that can kind of tell you where Emperor's Children are right now. Again, this is before I've played a tournament or like a lot of games of my Defilers. Maybe they are revolutionary. We'll see. Gruelers, well, I think it's going to be good games. It's going to be Custodes, Blood Angel, CSM, other Emperor Shonen players, Grey Knights, Space Wolves, Tyranids, and World Eaters. I gotta play this perfect. It's going to be Admech, Guard, and Ultramarines. Um, I wonder how my friends' games are going. Is Death Guard and Dark Angels? And then what time does the bar open? Is going to be Imperial Knights, Necrons, Tau Empire, and Thousand Suns. I also just noticed that they left Chaos Knights off of this. Just noticed that. So Chaos Knights is going to be it's going to be the same thing as Imperial Knights. It's going to be down here. 3 double Gatling Despoilers is going to pick up most of my army, minus the Windy Empress and the Defilers. Maybe even the Defilers if they pop lethal hits, ignore cover in Infernal Lance. So yeah. Yeah, double Gatling Despoilers kills my whole army. Like I said, minus the maybe the Windy Influences. So that's going to be another. What time does the bar open? So just pretend that that's there. So we got 5. So we got 5 armies I really don't want to see in Dallas. So yeah. But anyways, that's going to be it. Let me know what you think. Let me know what armor you play, maybe what matchups you're looking forward to, maybe you're not looking forward to. And maybe let me know if you're looking forward to playing as Emperor's Children. Maybe that's an army that maybe you play Knights or Necrons or Tower T-Sons, and you're if you see Emperor's Children on the other side of the table. But yeah, so that's it for this. And then I will be back next week breaking down my list and what I'm trying to accomplish next month. All right, thank you.